beautiful warm morning, and we are making our way to, I think it's like Monastiraki Square or something. I should have looked that up before I decided to start filming. Anyway, we are making our way to the square because we're going on a Women in Greece tour this morning. It's only going to be about 2 hours, so it's not particularly long, but it should be really good, and I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know how much of the mythological stuff we're going to hear about today, or if it's going to be more centered around just the other women of Greece and Athens. But either way, it should be really good. And yeah, like I said, I'm looking forward to it. So let's go.
Not leaving the house, but the wine thing.
Yeah, I'm happy to stay at home, although I'd like to read books. We finished our tour of the women in ancient Greece. Now, it was centered around, I think, 200 to 300 BCE or 300 to 400 BCE, a long time ago, long time ago. And we heard some really fascinating ideas and stories about women's role in society. And let me tell you, that role did not seem too great, especially as an Athenian. So basically, women weren't considered citizens in the state of Athens. So, so what would happen is basically, in order to be a citizen, you needed to be male. You needed to be of a certain age. Your parents needed to be both born in Athens, and a few other criteria, like, you know, your parents had to own land, blah, blah, blah. So in order to keep the bloodlines pure, let's say, and so that they knew that the parents were both Athenians, basically once a woman got married, that was it. She was like housebound, because that way she could never be accused of, well, the children then could never be accused of not being true Athenians, because then the woman wouldn't be able to go outside of the house and have affairs and have children with people who weren't from Athens as well. You know, so to keep the legitimacy of the citizenship, that was one thing. Also, men usually married after the age of 25, sometimes 30, depending on the length of service they did in the military. And, you know, because it was at that time that they were considered men and that they were able to get married. Now, women, or girls, should I say, were married off as soon as they hit puberty and started menstruation. So basically, you may have had 30-year-old men marrying 12-year-old girls. Not ideal. Not ideal at all. So that's just one of the things that we learned today. One of the other things we learned is that it was actually forbidden in law for women to be able to read. So there's Hadrian's library there. Women weren't able to use it because women weren't allowed to read. I don't even know when that kind of got overturned, but there was a story we were told about how there was a woman who she wanted to become a gynecologist, right? Women around her were dying, there were women's health issues happening, you know, babies, like, and there weren't any women, right? Men were all the doctors. So she did pose as a man and go and study, came back to Athens, opened up a practice. Anyway, word got out that she was actually a woman and was trialed. So luckily, the guy did say there could be some myth, some legend to this, or it could be the truth. No one's 100% sure. But around this time, the laws for women being able to become midwives and other type of, you know, women's health specialists was changed, so that women could actually work in these roles where previously they weren't allowed to. So whether or not this particular woman survived, and this story was all true, but the laws were changed at the same time as that story was meant to happen. So that's fantastic. That's one there for women's rights. Still weren't allowed to read. You had to learn everything through, you know, physical practice rather than reading, but whatever, whole other story. So I booked this tour through Get Your Guide. It looked really fascinating when I saw it, and the idea of learning about women in such an ancient context I thought was fascinating. So, which was why I booked it. And luckily, well, I don't know, I don't want to say luckily because it's not really lucky for the tour guide, but lucky for us, there were lots of cancellations. So the guide said normally this tour is booked out every day during the summer. Today there was just me and my daughter, so it was a private tour. It was fantastic. 10 out of 10, 5 stars, definitely recommend. And yeah, you can find it on Get Your Guide. Just visited here at the Prison of Socrates. Something our guide has just told us is that Socrates may not have even been held here. They're thinking now that he may have been held down in prisons at the Agora. But regardless, these are still pretty cool. These were used for storage in the First World War and during the revolution. I don't know what revolution that is. I really feel like I need to go look that up now. There was a revolution in Greece. Anyway, they were used to store stuff. It is pretty cool. It looks like there's 3 doorways, but the rooms inside are all interconnected, and then there's a cave that goes further down into the rocks. So the other thing I like a lot is that there is, by the looks of it, some stairs that goes to nothing, but that nothing, because there's holes then in the wall that look like there would have been a walkway above the doors of the prison. So it's kind of cool. We are currently making our way to the neighbourhood of Anafiotika, and again, I probably got that all wrong, but that's where we're headed now. We went off the main path because we thought we were going to be able to get to where we were going, but we're not. So yeah, we're just doing a small side quest. It's fine, it's perfect, it's beautiful. Who wouldn't want to do side quests around here, right? Like, just stunning. So we are here in Anafiotika. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. The neighbourhood here, and one thing to be mindful of is to be quiet, because this is a neighbourhood, right? Like, you're actually walking past people's houses. So yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. The views from up here are stunning. Look at that. Oh, and then up here, you can't really see it from this angle, but that's the Acropolis. So we're on the slopes of the Acropolis here, and it's just beautiful. We've come to the Roman Agora, or the Roman Forum. Romans did like to build forums wherever they went, and this is Athena's Gate, and it was one of the last monuments built for Athena. So Roman forums were designed as meeting places. And so people would come here to meet, come here to do things like shopping, and like markets and stuff. So yeah, it was just a meeting place. And there is something a little bit special up here. It's, can't remember what it's called. I'm sure I'll find out when I see the board up there. It was before sundials were invented, and it was able to tell dates, and not dates, but times. And no, I think it was dates, and it had something to do with the the guide was telling us it had something to do with the Egyptian calendar. So I think it might have been aligned to the Egyptian calendar. Anyway, we shall go see. It did act like a timer, people would meet there at certain times of the day and they would know what time it was because of this particular thing up here, which we'll go look. Oh, look, I don't like the look of those clouds in the background. I'm worried it's going to rain on us. That's okay, might cool it down a bit. This building is the Horologion of Andronicus of Kyros, or Tower of the Winds. Tower of the Winds is much easier for me to say. Yeah, look, it says it was built possibly at the end of the 2nd century BCE, and at one point it was used as a church because there are some Christian frescoes and other content dated 13th to 14th centuries. And that's it for the Roman Agora. We weren't here very long. I don't know, you might spend 15-20 minutes here at the most. There's not much to see, there's not much to read, but it is an important part of the city's history. We have now come to Hadrian's library, and oh, there's a big bumblebee. I'm like scared of bees, even though they're awesome. We have come to Hadrian's library. Now, as I did mention earlier, our guide did tell us today that women or females weren't allowed to learn how to read. It's not that they couldn't, it's just that they weren't allowed. It was actually forbidden. It was written in law that they couldn't read. Now, for many reasons. One, look, I'm assuming because, knowledge is power. And anyway, we could go into a whole philosophical debate about this, but essentially, women couldn't read. Their fathers were even forbidden to teach them how to read in their own homes. So, So this place really wasn't for women, unless you were a prostitute. So there is evidence of women being here, and if women can't read and aren't allowed to read, then really what they've deduced is that then these women were actually prostitutes. Which is fine. Or sex workers, whatever you want to call it. It is the oldest profession, and apparently one of the most needed. So, so that's this place, and it's pretty cool. I'm gonna go have a look over there at some of the old walls that still remain. It was really, really large. There were porticos, so patios, or whatever you choose to call them, but yeah, porticos here where people could sit outside. There was a big fountain. There was a church here at one stage as well, after it was converted at one point. After Christianity converted Greece at some point. So yeah, there's lots of stuff here. Ruins, unfortunately, but it's still going to be some interesting things to learn, hopefully, on some of these signage boards here. Might learn something new, maybe, hopefully. So over the last few days I have learned that there are a few ways that you can distinguish the Roman architecture, and the first one is arches. They really, really liked arches, not triangles. And the other is, I don't know if you can see it, bricks. So bricks in the buildings usually indicate Roman structures. Yeah, this is cool. I actually quite like it here. I don't think there was really that much the Tower of the Winds was fantastic, but yeah, I think I quite like Hadrian's library a little bit more. I wasn't expecting to. So yeah, I'm going to go check out the last remaining wall, so you can see actually how big the structure was. It would have been huge at the time. Another thing that the guide told us today was Hadrian's library actually had 4 large rooms here, and one of them was an auditorium, which is quite interesting. But yeah, so just 4 large walls, and if I walk here, you can see that's one of the foundations of the wall, so they were really quite thick. And that is a wrap for today. We're going to go get some dinner. The food here in Greece has just been incredible. Yeah, so we're going to go get some dinner and then head back and go to sleep because we're exhausted from walking all day in the heat. But it's been another incredible day, and I've loved it here. And yeah, can't wait to see what we get up to tomorrow.